John Lucero.
And where are we right now?
We're in Columbus, Ohio for a decade. Rad, yeah. This is John Cardiel's first pro model for Black Label, and his first pro model altogether. I love this board. Met John through just like the skate contest, actually the Palace Skate Zone. I'd kind of heard of him but never really seen him, and had my team out there, and those contests were fun. A great time in skating, and everyone was just barging around. It was rad indoor stuff, and John was fucking ripping and just unique. He's doing forward flips over the pyramid, trying to land back on his board. Everybody, not just my crew, but everybody just loved him and took a liking to him. And he was, I know people knew of him beforehand, but it was kind of our first experience with him. And he came by our van, and the guys just took a liking to him, started drinking beers, hanging out. Everyone just made friends, and I had known that Dogtown just kind of had went under, and I just offered him a spot, right there on the spot. I go, call me if you need anything. And he did. Yeah. It was awesome, and it was blown away, and I just thought instantly, we have to make him a pro board. I couldn't think of anything else. So we want to make you a board, and as soon as he got on the team, we knew he was going to be a pro for us, and I just wanted to make a board, and I already kind of knew right then. He was always chewing tobacco, always chewing Copenhagen, had a big can in his back pocket, always had a big wad in his mouth. And I just thought, oh, it's Copenhagen can. Cardiel John. It just kind of worked out that way. And when I do graphics, I don't think too hard about it. I just kind of like, if I know it's fun and rad, we just kind of executed it and kind of did it, and I just kind of put it together. And if you look at an old Copenhagen can, you get the BL for Black Label and the JC for John Cardiel. Warning, this product may cause mouth cancer. Probably took me about, I don't know, an hour. Hardest part was, I've never used computers. Still to this day, don't know how to use one. So doing something like this type, I just do it by hand. I actually had a friend of mine typeset it out, the weights and stuff like that, and Snuff was the can, and put a barcode on there, which was, I think, an original barcode. This is the barcode before we did barcodes on boards for our thing, but this is actually, I think, a Copenhagen barcode, and manufactured by Black Label Tobacco Company. Now, all the old boards, I'd put something, Black Label Tobacco Company, you know, Black Label Record Company, Black Label whatever. Yeah, this is a great board. They're pretty correct. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's pretty correct. I actually did. This is like one of the few boards I've skated that was somewhat modern board. And this shape itself, right here, what I really loved about John, he was very particular about what he rode. And this shape kind of precursors the football shape. This is coming out of like still kind of vert-oriented shapes, and all the dudes starting to trim their tails down and stuff like this, but he was very particular. He wanted a big, long nose for nose slides and a nice round tail. And this still had a little bit, it still has a little bit of tail to it. It has this rad teardrop shape to it. Yeah. We have not. It's funny, we are actually in the process of reissuing this board right now with the original shape, original everything, doing the shirt with it. And John was nice enough to let us do that. So we're pretty excited about that. Black Label USA, made from wood and glue. That was always kind of a spoof with some of the bigger brands that would kind of like get a little more technical with their stuff. Wood and glue, that's it. Probably made 200 for the first run, and then we probably had made at least 2 or 3 of these runs. This is one of the first boards during that time we actually made more because they sold. When John got on the team, you know, Black Label is still pretty small. This is like, I started Lucero Ltd in 1988. We morphed it into Black Label around 1990. And right around that same year was a pretty transitional year with Alien Workshop, Real, all that kind of stuff. Within a year or two span, all these brands were coming into it. And skating had kind of taken a slope, kind of going from the big brands, everything kind of just lost its way, and these little brands started to emerge. And I was very happy that we were able to kind of be part of that, and very proud of that. It was a great time in skating. You know, I came into it with my guys, you know, Ricky Barnes and Grosso and Schroeder and stuff like that. And we had a couple young street skaters. But to meet John and have him become part of this really helped us kind of make a newer impact with a guy that really understood what he wanted and what he did. And he was so gnarly. So he still carried a lot of that old school mentality into the new ages. At least new ages for us. And for me, I thought, you know. These boards probably cost $13.50 to $14 for the board itself, and then the silk screening process. It's usually about $1 a color. You got to pay for the film work and stuff like that. So for the most part, boards were, it was usually an expense, you know, and you get the guys their cut of it. The going royalty was always $2 a board. I think even back then it was hard to retail a board for $55. Everyone was still skater mentality. Nobody wanted to go too far. Nobody wanted to like charge too much money for them. Skate shops, I think, especially had a hard time because by the time we sell this to them, we sold this to shops probably for about, I can't even remember now, but it wasn't very much. And then you had distributors around the world, which you hardly made any margins on. So by the time you had the thing manufactured, did all your work to it, got it to the shops, got it to the distributors, got the guys their cut, there wasn't like a lot of left over. So to be able to make a board and do a couple runs of it actually helped, was beneficial. And as we headed into that early 90s stage, boards became one and done. Like all the stuff here we had at Decade, like this things, I was stoked because a lot of guys that loved that 90s stuff weren't super familiar with some of the Black Label stuff. And so when they saw it, they did recognize it. And they do remember just going back to that time. But those were one and done boards, man. Sometimes 150, 200 maybe at the most, and they're impossible to find. And so to see stuff here and to see them all on the walls and people's collections and everything, and it's cool. Yeah, it's a rad era. Everybody has their own favorite era, and everyone thinks, oh, this era, our era was the best. This was, I love 1979. 78 to 79 is my favorite era of skateboards, you know. I love the 80s. I love the later 80s. And then getting into the 90s was really Black Label's inception into it. Was 1990. But the brand started in 1988. And then, but when I started Lucero Ltd in 1988, and then we changed it to Black Label in 1990, I really did consider it two separate companies. You know, we got rid of the elephant and I changed it to the dead ant, and people kept insisting that where's the elephant? And so eventually I just, by fans alone, I'm just like, oh, it's the same company. So it's always White's White since 1988. But Black Label really kind of started, I changed the name in 1990 to Black Label. And this board came out, I'm thinking around 90, 91, mid 91, maybe going into 92.
Can you hold it like this? Just hold it up for me.
I usually did our boxes like as they called in. And you can always tell who's skating hardest by who's calling in the most. And then you get to kind of, you know, the guys that are just calling in for boxes who are like whatever. But John skated hard, so whatever he wanted, we'd send him. And being a small startup company like the time, and you're only making a couple hundred boards. You know, now brands have 30 boards in their lineup, 40. Back then we'd have 6, maybe, right? I mean, we started with 4 boards, 4 t-shirts and 4 stickers. And then by the time we brought in Max Evans and John, you know, we had 6 boards, right? And you're making a couple hundred of each board, trying to get them out to the shops, and you get in the riders and stuff. There's not really a lot. So you got to make sure you have enough stuff for the guys. And sometimes, there wasn't, you know? And that's
run out and be like, I don't have boards. Sorry.
Sometimes you run out, and then you got to realize, you got to make sure you have the boards for the guys. You got to keep everybody supplied. John went through a lot of boards. I mean, he was radical, you know? See, this one's great. This is the Cardiel Candy Slick. That's about as simple as it was ever called. Once again, all John's input. Slick bottoms were becoming the mainstay, which I didn't think was a good idea. Well, at first I thought, oh, well, it's a great idea, slick bottom. I rode one. I don't think it necessarily slid any better. So I kind of was instantly like, all right. In the beginning, when they first came out, they were kind of just logo driven. You heard that sublimation, that they kind of ironed on these artworks onto them, and then it was the first time like you'd have to put the graphics on the slick before it was laminated, before it was cut. You wouldn't get accurate placement. So all of a sudden now the graphic becomes a floater. So you can't do like accurate placements. You got to come up with a graphic that's kind of floaty. And then as slicks were coming on, once again, Black Label, late to the party, always like hesitant, you know, not hesitant, but I'm always like, bullshit, you know what I mean? All right, slick bottom. John really wanted a slick, and he had a new shape he was working on, which was at the time, once again, everything was very particular. He wanted a big, long, full nose and have it come back with a real pin tail, which I thought was insane at the time. Like this thing that just drew back, and the nose was just this long nose. This is funny because there's actually 3 versions of this board. This is the second version. The first one had a little bit more fuller, kind of a bigger paddle nose, and it was a hair wider, and then it came down to this, pretty much that same tail. And this is the second version because, once again, this was a board that actually had some quite a bit of success, and people loved it, and we sold it. We sold quite a few of them. I mean, we're not selling thousands of them, but we can make it again. We probably made 3 or 4 runs of this board. 200.
I was 2 of those when I was a kid.
Both Cardiel boards were some of the first boards that the boards themselves had fans to it, and people really loved them. And John, I feel, was just still becoming known. The whole thing was just a super rad series of events that really fucking catapulted this board. This is the first graphic slick bottom. Back to the original story. So when everyone's doing slick bottoms, I didn't like the floaty graphics. We had Max Evans that was with us and Skip Pronier. John wasn't on the team at the time, so when slick bottoms were coming out, I reached out to our manufacturer, which was PS Sticks at the time. A couple brands were doing just white only slick bottoms. Dogtown did a white only slick bottom, yeah. It was a cheaper way to not sublimate it and not have to put the graphics on. They claimed, oh, white ice or something like that, you know what I mean? A couple brands did it. It was just and when everyone was getting into slicks, everyone was trying different things. How do you do it? How do you make it affordable? How do we get it out there? How do we do something unique to us? I saw the white ones, and so I reached out and I said, hey, is there any way to do just a black bottom? And they said, yeah, you know what? As a matter of fact, they make just a solid black sheet that we could do. I go, that's what I want. And so our first slicks were a Skip Pronier grease belly. We called them grease bellies. We were gonna call them black grease, and then Grosso always said, oh, grease belly. That was just like a nickname for just a slimy guy, right? Fucking grease belly. And Jeff worked with me at the time, and so yeah, they just became Black Label grease bellies.
That's amazing.
Watch your step. Our first slicks was Skip Pronier grease, and so we just had the black, and then we silk screened actually right here onto the side of the truck. His graphic, which was the black flag bars, and then the Max Evans, he had a board, Manny Moe and Max, and we took this little Manny, his was right there, and those were the grease bellies. And then this was the first one we did with graphics on them. Oh, John did. Yeah. He goes, let's do a slick bottom. We can do anything we want. Like we can just do a photograph. He's like, I want all candy on the bottom and no chocolate, only candy. Oh, that sounds good to me. Yeah, I went down to 7-Eleven and bought all this candy. I don't know if he was with me or not. I just know he said he wanted only candy. For some reason I have this thing in my mind that he and I were together, but I'm not 100% sure, but only candy, only hard candy. So I went down and bought all this candy, and believe me, we ate it all. I'm pretty sure John ate all this candy. Oh, the dots. That's always still my favorite. I love dots. Okay, we'll find the least favorite. Tootsie Roll. How did Tootsie Roll get it? It's chocolate flavored candy, but that should never have been on there. Almond Snickers. Oh, actually, that was my favorite candy bar. Nowadays, all the guys know. Paydays. I love a payday. Try to hand them out. They're like little reward treats. 70 bucks.
70 bucks.
I'm thinking, yeah. I never skated these, no. Not my size. Like I said, I'm a holdout, man. I like square tails and long wheelbases. I actually rode a Cardiel Copenhagen board for a while. I even put Venture, not the lows, but the magnesiums. See, when John first skated for Black Label, he rode for Ventures. And I thought those Venture magnesiums were really cool, even though I rode for Independent. And here's the reason why I put Venture magnesiums on that Cardiel Copenhagen board. Old Ventures, I don't know if you remember, but they would drop your wheelbase back and make your wheelbase longer. And I ride long wheelbases. So once these little boards with these little wheelbases came on, I tried to ride some Ventures, and so did Grosso. It did make your wheelbase longer, but it also fucked with the angle of your truck. But anyways, that was short-lived. 16 and a half. Yeah. Yeah, back to this. There's a couple things on here. These are all candies we bought, and then there's one right here. Oh, Monster Candy. It's got a little Frankenstein. I actually have just a bunch of vintage things I collect all the time, and I had this in my I had a little ashtray full of just rad little things. I had this little vintage Monster Candy box from like the 70s. There was nothing in it, so I grabbed that, threw that in there. Let's see what else is on here. This is interesting right here. Cherry Clan right here. This Cherry Clan in my mind, this was, we were going to make a graphic out of that for a wood version, and it was going to be a Cardiel clan. Never did it. I don't even know if I ran that by John. So John, if you see this, that was an idea. And that was actually Skip Pronier going, oh, we should do a wood board. And Skippy loved the Cherry Clan. That whole thing would have been a rad board. And then of course, how do we put his name on it? That's what John said all the time. 2 words he said all the time to describe things: sick and sweet. And so I was at the market one day, and there was like little stickers that they'd put on fruit, and it said sweet. And so I just grabbed one, and I came home and I kind of reconfigured it. Yeah, John Cardiel, Black Label, sweet.
That's so cool.
Yeah. My favorite one out here though, lemon heads and dots. Oh, and then the Tootsie Roll, which we did make a wood version of this board, but with the little Tootsie Roll girl on it. It has a little girl skateboarding on the wrapper, and it's right there. You can see it. There's 2 little kids skating on that wrapper. So we put it just on there. And then so we ended up making the wood version that just had the little Tootsie Pop girl on it. And it was just a purple flood with white, and we did a black one with white, and we made little stickers. So the sticker that went with this board was the little Tootsie Pop girl. Really cool.
That's cool. I've never even seen that.
They're really cool. And the stickers were super small. That was actually a really cool part about that board, was that sticker. And we made shirts.
Yeah.
So there was never a candy shirt, but there was a round logo with the little girl on there. So the shirts were out. They came in purple and green, and everything only came in XL back then. Bazooka Joe, Bazooka Bubblegum. They always had little comics in there, so I took one of the comics out of there. This one did.
Yeah.
It really helped us become, I feel, like I said, I always felt like with me, Schroeder, Grosso, Ricky Barnes, even as young as we were, we carried the old school edge, Black Label, right? And so having John, Max, and Skip and those guys just gave us the cred, right? We owe a lot to this board right here. The industry was small back then. Wasn't a lot of shops. I like it that way. I liked it small. Everyone knew. You knew who skated, you knew who it was. And so it was a little easier, to get these things out to shops, especially when you only have 6 boards in a lineup and a couple tees and stuff like that. It's a simple box. Shops are supporting, everybody's getting into it. Everyone's kind of like starting to step away from the big dogs, the Santa Cruzes and the Pals and stuff, and the new brands are coming in. Yep. Candy Slick, hella sweet. I had a little text conversation with just like about 2 or 3 weeks ago about our reissue. So, and then on Grosso's, we had a memorial camp out for Jeff. It was a year after he passed last year, and we all went up to Mammoth and skated the park, and John was there, and we were all camping together, and it was rad. John's rad, man. Rode his motorcycle all the way up there. I love early 90s graphics because, I don't know, it kind of took me out of my drawing the old school graphics and stuff like that. And that was the era of like little spoofs and rip-offs and little things. I love all that stuff. I like some of the Jonas Ray boards we did. The little copper tone girl with the little girl getting her undies pulled down by the dog. I love that one. And there's another Jonas one called Jonas Brand. It was a little sticker off a banana. Just repurpose it and use it, and the colors are rad. And first memory is Sponsor Me tapes. Him and his brother rode for Spitfire and Thunder. And Shrugi, who was very supporter of Black Label when he was a Spitfire Thunder guy, always hooked up our guys. Got a tape sent in. Shrugi vouched for him super heavy, said this kid's great. And we knew of Jeremy already. I actually have a Jeremy Ray Sponsor Me tape, and I just turned him down. Yeah, I regretted it. Trying to make up for it by sponsoring his brother, man. Yeah, no, it's hard. It's hard getting these tapes out of the blue. It's not like you're getting a Sponsor Me tape from Jeremy Ray.
Right.
It's Jeremy Ray. No, this is an unknown kid, was never sponsored. You can see it. I can remember the tape. I can see his style in it, right? But he just wasn't Jeremy Ray like we know. I don't know. I always had a hard time kind of like projecting into the future. Needless to say, I blew that one. I hadn't seen him for a minute. He was working for a beer company or something. He was doing promotions for, I think it was a beer company or something like that. So he'd be like a party guy at bars, like promoting shit. So I saw him at a bar once, and that was about the last time. And then just to hear of his passing was a shocker and unfortunate. And I reached out to Jeremy and gave my condolences. I went to his memorial at the beach. A bunch of people came out, and it was during the pandemic, and a scary time for everybody. But I was stoked everyone just went and did it. Yeah. But yeah, it'd been a minute. But yeah, he's always one of my favorites. Gino came from Sponsor Me tapes. His Sponsor Me tapes are so great because his first ones, he's got jeans with cuffs and a chain wallet. His Sponsor Me tapes came when boards still had square tails on it and stuff like that. So skating had changed from seriously like 89 to 90, 91. In a 2 or 3 year span, went from big boards with squared tails to little things, Once again, I was unsure, but there's something I liked about him, and we just tell him, hey, we'll send you a box, but you have to make me another tape, because he made cool tapes. Not just tricks, him doing shit, yeah. Him and his friends fucking around. You can see like Keenan in the tapes, you can see Huff in the tapes, you can see John Buscemi in the tapes, and Ray, all the guys from New York, all his friends. They're goofing around and having fun. That's what I liked about him. He was funny. I hope maybe he'll correct me, but probably one board. I think I remember the first boards we sent him were the Grosso cigarette board. So he's probably going, what the fuck are these things, right? But it was still up there, and he'd make us more tapes. And I don't know if you've ever seen the tape. It's from the Black Label Crummy promo, but he does a backside 360 off the stairs, and he keeps going. He's riding a Grosso board, and he's got a Black Label ant shirt on. When we got that tape, that was probably the second tape we ever got from him. We were blown away. Then you can see like he's got like incredible balance and skill and something unique about him. I haven't talked to him for a minute. Oh, I'd say I loved you, Gino. I do love him. I love that we got to sponsor him first, and I love that watching him progress into what he did. And once again, being the old school guy I know, I didn't really understand how to recognize all that stuff. But I did have my team, Skip Pronier and Max, and they recognized it. They said, he's the best. And I was just like, well, fuck, he's got to be the best, right? And then he'd come out and stay with me. I remember him and John Buscemi came out and stayed at my house. And, I was young. I'm running a company, but I never really ran the company very, I just leave. I go, oh, I'm going out, you guys. They're young. I just leave them at the house. I'd go party at the bars with my friends. I'd come back and they'd be running around the house, and then I'd come pick them up in the mornings, take them skating, and yeah, it was cool. He was a cool guy. And then things were progressing fast, and that was the era of dudes kind of like looking for something that wasn't just burnout shit. You know what I mean? So all the new brands were coming out, and then I remember Gino and Dylan, those guys going to SF, and there's no cell phones, there's nothing. I just remember them calling me from a payphone and saying, oh, Gino just heel flipped the Gons. I was like, fuck, is anybody there? Anybody get a photo? And someone said, oh, Gabe Morford got the photo. I'm all, fuck, who's Gabe Morford? Oh, he works at Thrasher or whatever. So I'm calling all over the place, trying to, hold on, let me, whatever. I finally get to someone, they're going to use it in the new Thunder ad. So Gino, yeah, he fucking did that shit. And the Gino wildfires spread like fucking within minutes. Yeah. And like I said, it ended up in a Thunder ad. Right. And he wasn't even officially on Thunder. But because of Shugi, he had our dudes all set up on Thunders and Spitfire. And I remember feeling a little slighted. Like they knew he rode for Black Label up there, but they got that sequence and they were gonna run it. They weren't even gonna give me a fucking call. Yeah. So luckily they got another photo. Switch flip down to Hubba Hideout. I was like, wow. And he sent me the photo and I was like, oh, I love that photo. And once again, I'm all, switch stance. I go, what is that? You know what I mean? I knew what it was, but I was just like, I look at the photo, I go, hey, you couldn't tell, right?
But this is yours though, right, John?
This is great. This is an experimental test board, Randy Colvin, beer can slick. With the success of the Cardiel Candy Slick, it's like, oh, and we had Randy on the team. And how Randy came about riding for Black Label was just hilarious. I mean, probably one of the first guys that got kicked off of World Industries, Why? Well, I'd find out why later, you know what I mean? He's not in any hurry to do anything. But I love Randy Colvin. Yeah, we were just friends already, so when we had the chance to get him on It was a no-brainer. All the dudes were very excited to have him on board. The first board we did for him was Zigzag board, which was once again another, I love that era of graphics. I love that board. Gino had a rad shot with that board. So anyways, this is a funny story, yeah. So with Cardiel's Candy Slick, we go, oh, let's do all beer cans. Where do we get all the beer cans? I just went straight over to Ricky Barnes and Jeff's house, and their backyard was just loaded with cans. That's all they did was drink all night. We just scooped up all these beer cans, and then I was like, oh, it needs a little something else. And so I went and bought a 12-pack of the generic beer, and took them back to Black Label, and I made Jeff drink them all. I think I drank a couple, but he probably drank 10 out of the 12. And then we crushed them all up, and we had a really good photographer that took these large format photos. Took one of the Cardiels, his name was Tom West. He also used to shoot all the product shots for like what you'd see in Sims and Vision ads of all the completes from back in the 80s. Really? So he was an old school guy. He's worked in skateboarding for a long time. He took the photos for these. And I was pretty stoked to have him do it. And he was already kind of not working in skateboarding anymore. So I took him all over to his studio. We laid them all out, just like we did the candy at his studio. So anyways, I had this was a Heineken bottle. And I took the, actually I didn't take the labels off. There's all this gold trim. And so I made this logo, Xeroxed it up, and I taped it right around perfectly so you'd still see the gold trim, and added this thing to it, and just made it this Randy Colvin beer bottle in green. So I thought it was a good contrast. Drop that right in there. I still have that. See, that would have been a rad thing to have here too. And real quick, I had a Black Label beer can already, and I crushed that up and I put that in the photo just to have the Black Label in there. This is, once again, the way I always saw it, it's like, if it's less than a Shaka, that's too skinny. But that's how you measure the board. Look at that. That's a Shaka. His first board was on the egg ovally shapes. This was kind of this is probably Randy's last board, I'm thinking. He actually just, he just wasn't into the, it's hard to get a photo of him. It was hard to, but he was awesome. The guys loved him. I loved him. But yeah, that was it. And this cool thing about this board is it came on a slick bottom. This is a sublimated wood board. It never made it to production, but this was as slicks were dying out. We were experimenting with sublimating onto wood. That's why it's a little bit more duller. So this is a pretty rare one. The Randy Colvin sublimated beer board.
That was awesome, yeah. Thank you, Jay.
So funny thing about these boards too, slick bottoms, a little more expensive to produce. So let's not screen the top. They weren't even shrink wrap. This is all during the bag days, right? Yeah, I mean, I look back on some of this stuff. I'm just like, it was an era where people were starting to like watch the pennies, and we don't need a top. We could cover the grip tape, but I don't know. I like a good top on there. Yeah, we'll do it right now. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Wood, glue. Always better with the top. I did. I think I have a third version. I don't have an original one with the big nose. I have the third version, which is, like I said, there's actually 4 versions. There's the original one. This is version number 2. And then version number 3 was even skinnier. Like I said, John always wanted to go skinnier. And then so that was that. And then we ended up doing, as we talked about the sublimated graphics, we experimented with sublimated wood candy boards, and they look so cool that we did sublimated wood candy on bottom and top. And so there is a very small run of boards that got out there. Double candy wood, we called it. I do have one of those. I don't know if I have one, actually.
I know it can go, yeah. It can
I don't know if I have one. I just feel like I have one somewhere. Man, I really love the Kelch Flyer. That was a slick bottom though, right? I did like that one. I don't, is it Kevin Ansel? Is it? Yeah. There you go. It's probably why I love it. I love Kevin Ansel. Yeah, yeah, super nice guy. He did some rad graphics. It's some of my favorite Dogtown graphics. I love Dogtown. Oh, let's see, there's some good ones. I love Neil's graphics. Love the Coffee Break. I love the Rocking Horse. You know, I'm missing something. Too many graphics. That's why we're here. thousands. I don't really, I guess it is a collection now. It's a collection of stuff. I don't collect to get things I want for the collection. I just happen to have a lot of stuff. So most of my collection is Black Label stuff. So just to be able to show the early 90s stuff here was really rad. To see it all in one place. A lot of them are just, not junk, but like, you know, you cannot throw a skateboard away. So, having a company for so long, you get samples, you get seconds or whatever. Even if it's just a blank sample, I can't throw it. So this stuff just stacks up. Some of the radder boards I have are 80s boards. I always try to have one board from each of my friends that we grew up with. I got a Lance, I got a Neil, I got a Grosso, I got Eric Nash. Black Label is the littlest, biggest skateboard company. Yeah. I don't want to be too big. Can't. How do we end it? It's never over, Tim. It's never over. Skateboard graphics will keep adhering themselves to the bottom of these rad boards, and people will keep saving them. Skateboarding's too fucking great. It's too rad. Never ends. Yeah, so here you go.
Can you say your name for the audio levels here?
Gino Iannucci. You want the full Italian? Luigi Giovanni Marco Iannucci.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Black Label crummy promo. I believe so, unless it was some footage that I used to send, because I sent John so much footage. I used to send him tapes. I believe some of it's probably sponsor me footage. Yeah, because at the same time they were making this video. Yeah, AC/DC, Back in Black. No, that was all John. Yeah. I thought it was cool. I think I was a little bit, at the time, maybe Hensley. Somebody had a song with Back in Black. Do you recall? I mean, you might know more than me. Wasn't there an 8th Street promo that had Back in Black in it with Hensley skating? I feel like maybe at that time that was out, and I was a little bit like, that's Hensley, and that's, you know, I was a little nervous, but I liked the song, so whatever. I was in the video. I was psyched. Yeah.
If you could have picked a song.
At that time?
Yeah.
Oh man. It probably would have been like Ice Cube, something from America's Most Wanted or something like that. Yeah. I did, yeah. I sent a sponsor me tape to Gullwing and I think Jimmy Z. I just opened up a magazine, breezed through the pages. Yeah, Gullwing, I got on. They started sending me stuff. Jimmy Z, I never heard from. And that's the only 2 I remember, but there's probably more. Like GNS or something. Jimmy Z. Yeah. I'm not sure where 8th Street was when I sent the video to Black Label. Maybe I just thought, like, are you kidding me, 8th Street? Yeah, right. I don't know. I don't remember. That's a... Yeah, they had ads in magazines. And I'd known of John Lucero from magazines and videos. See, I want to get this right, explaining, because why would I choose Black Label? I remember watching the Schmidt Sticks video, like Let's Go Skate, and it was just a simple video, the Schmidt Sticks team hanging out in the house, skating the backyard ramp, skating the local 7-Eleven, fucking around, and John always stood out. And I think, I don't know, it was a more simple time. There was only a few companies, and to me, Black Label, yeah, I think I was just kind of reaching for like whoever was down. I was just, you know, I knew that John was Black Label, and I knew he came from Schmidt Sticks and Lucero. I think I just didn't care. Like, I just wanted to get free shit, like free boards, you know? Seriously, like just skate, be down with a squad, and like, yeah. After I sent the video, he called my folks' house. My sister hit me up. She's like, John Lucero's on the phone, and it was a very special day. Like, yo, what's up? I saw your video. Like, I want to send you some boards. Keep sending some footage. And that's how it started. Yeah, I'm sure that he's told you about all the other extracurricular shit we put in the video. So much, just dorking around, like pranking and I don't know,
Real cool skits.
shit that we would be doing other than skating back then. Skits and that I haven't seen since then. I guess, yeah, it was like showing more than, some personality and just being a goof and, you know. Not really. No, it might have been a crutch board. Yeah, if I had to take a guess. I feel like I got a lot of crutches, so that's why that stood out. I went out there first, solo, the first time, and that was a memorable trip. Yeah, I flew out there, I think around 90 or something like that, 90, 91. Yeah, he scooped me up from LAX. We drove up, right from LAX, drove to Turlock, California, up north for a castle contest. And it was kind of like trippy, just meeting him for the first time and then being thrown in the back of his pickup truck and a couple of guys I didn't know, and I'm just in the back. One of those pickup trucks that has a cover, like with, you know, a window to like say what's up to the people in the front seat. But I was the only one in the back of the truck, and driving 6 hours, it was very odd, you know what I mean? I'm in California for the first time. I remember just looking out the window and seeing like mountains and blue skies and palm trees, and the 405 was like huge, and it was exciting. It was, you know, and I'm in skate land, so it was fucking cool. Although it was very weird and uncomfortable, you know? Ooh, last time I spoke to John might have been when he reissued the I Love New York board. What's up? I don't know. Thank you, you know. Thank you very much. Probably was a little bit worried and a little bit, you know, I backed Long Island so much. Being younger, definitely didn't want to claim NYC if you were from Long Island. And I wanted to rep Long Island, not the city, so yeah. But it was okay. I know he's from California, he didn't know any better. There's gotta be at least 10 tapes. Yeah, I was psycho with filming. Like, I used to edit the videos, and if I tried one trick, or at least from what I remember, I would try the trick, land it a certain way, not be happy with it, but keep that one in the edit, and end up having like maybe 5 different versions of the trick. Yeah. As far as tricks, there was a lot. I mean, a lot more than I put out when I started having my own skateboard with my name on it. You know what I mean? I definitely had more footage when I was younger. I know, like in Long Island, John Buscemi used to film. You know, when I started hanging out with Huff and Keenan and those guys, Huff used to film, Keenan used to, we used to like trade, you know, we used to rotate. But before that, like Black Label days, I think it was maybe Ray Matei. Yeah. I never did, no, I never had a camera. I know John's was like some burgundy and black VHS camera. That was definitely crummy promo days, I believe. It's interesting though, because I don't remember, I'm thinking of like clips at Roslyn in that video. I don't remember who was filming them at all. Nah.
What is your favorite video part?
My favorite video part? I like Trilogy. Yeah. That's when I just felt like I was I was backing my own skating. You know what I mean? Ever since then, it's been more of like, I don't think I'm backing what I'm doing. It's a secret. Because I've heard that, and I've seen it on Instagram, and I kind of just like left it alone. I'm like, all right, well, think about it.